everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our humble little webinar, number 78. Amazing. I want to thank you all for being here and for your support, whatever that looks like. We have a lot of things to cover, and it's almost going to seem like an overview because it's really important to put some things in perspective, because it's very easy at this point to misinterpret what the media is trying to portray and what actually is going on behind the scenes. We're also going to share some interesting intel, and I'm going to have some homework for you all to do. And anyway, we'll just get started. So we're going to start with the current stat. It would appear that the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. And it definitely appears that way. It is you would be pretty bona fide in thinking that. But there's a lot more to this than that. My hope is that towards the end of the webinar here, the next hour, everything kind of falls into place and you feel better about what's actually happening. Because, there are so many people that send me emails, and I'm still on January. I'm still trying to answer January's emails. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And I swear to God, I shake my head so much, I worry that it's going to just roll off my shoulders, onto the floor. The reason you think nothing's happening is because the media isn't reporting anything except Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Okay, that's it. Or how screwed up America is, yada, yada, yada. Because that's all you're hearing. But in reality, all of that is to hide the fact that there is so much going on that they cannot explain, nor do they even want to go into, because it exposes their culpability, their treason against humanity, etc., etc., etc. So, first of all, there was a movie made in the 90s. The name of the movie is Deja Vu. And it stars Denzel Washington and Paula Patton. Your homework, part of your homework, is to watch that movie and know that the technology that's in that movie is now fully operational. Okay, and we will talk about that in a later webinar. But that's your homework. Okay, that's not Hollywood anymore. That's a reality. So again, the name of the movie is Deja Vu, and we'll talk about that in the next 1 or 2 webinars. Hopefully we'll go that far. 2, when the webinar is over, I will be posting or sending links to James to post some videos off the web regarding the planetary systems, what's going on in our solar system. And let me tell you, it's stunning. There is just so much there. The first video that will be posted is of a police helicopter in England and Wales, the National Police Service, the National Police Aircraft Service, that is flying over northern Wales, and it's a clear blue sky. They have the video camera running, and for some reason they decide that they're going to go to infrared because they're looking for someone on the ground. So they go to infrared, and right in front of them is a moon. Okay, now they're flying north in North Wales. The moon doesn't go over the North Pole, okay? But with the infrared off, there is no moon there. There's no planet, there's nothing, blue sky. The minute they turn it on, it is right there in front of them, which means that this planetary object is cloaked, and it is sitting right there. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Okay? If that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will. The other video that I'm going to have him post is from northern Alaska. And this was taken on March 29th of this past, of 2019. And on March 29th, you have a setting sun, that you have a sun that's rising above the horizon that is bright, and then it dims by itself for no explicable reason, and then suddenly it goes bright again. And what you also see are other planetary moons right there. What they do is they're almost completely cloaked out, but what they do is they put a panel of color, and you can clearly see it, clear as day, as the sun sets over this planetary moon, or whatever the hell it is. It's obviously not our moon because, one, it's too large, two, it's too large. What's also interesting is as our moon does come into the picture and sets, this other moon follows it behind, 3-4 times the size, is following it. Now, as the sun sets at the end of the 29th, there are 2 suns setting in the horizon. This one's worth it, okay? This one you take to the bank. For those of you who think nothing's happening, you need to understand there is a solar system passing through our solar system. And right now we have a moon or a planet or a ship that is a planet-sized craft between Venus and the Earth. It is orbiting our sun in the opposite direction that we rotate around the sun. And its orbit is between 4 to 5 months. It is smoking moving around our sun. We also have another planet, moon or planet-sized starcraft, close to the sun in front of Mercury, between Mercury and the sun. This is why the Secchi and some of the other SOHO system, satellite systems, what they're doing now is they're shutting them down and they are clipping many hours out of the tapes, which is not something they used to do on a regular basis. But now they are. They are clearly editing and filtering because they don't want us to see what's going on. As they continue to chemtrail the absolute crap out of our skies. Now, on March 17th, the Schumann resonance pegged to 150 hertz. What's interesting about that day and the preceding couple of days, at least here in the US, and I'm checking with other sources all over the Northern Hemisphere, emergency rooms were full of people having heart palpitations, chest pains, dizziness, hard to breathe. Some people were said to have had heart attacks. Some people thought they were having brain aneurysms. And it was the stretch between the 17th, the 19th, and the 20th. And what's interesting is that after all of the testing, they didn't really find anything. So what's happening is that the Earth is starting to ring like a bell because the Schumann resonance is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's lasting several hours now. And some folks are going to be having a hard time with this. Now, if you remember back in the early 90s, Mornay and Faseus shared with us that when the energy shifts came, when the dimensional shifts began, that many people were going to have a hard time with it. Specifically, they pointed out the men, because emotionally, most men are shut down. They are, as they put it, in self-imposed loneliness. So this could very well be the beginning of those shifts. And what's also really important about this is that there are a lot of people beginning to see, who have the gift of sight, are beginning to see the dimensions. They are beginning to see into the fourth with their physical eyes. They're beginning to see cities and portals. They're beginning to see equipment and other things move around in sharing the space with us. And this is happening all over the planet. I have 7 or 8 emails just on this already from January. So this movement of frequency is actually occurring. And this is when we get to the flow of life. This is why it's so important to consciously be aware of stepping into the river. I don't know what else to call it, but it's like a river. It's a river of light, of harmonics, of all of the above. So we'll get to that. In the last webinar, I didn't say much about the reset, the GCR, the global currency reset. I'm very hesitant to say anything else in this one, other than the fact I'm going to give you a couple of pieces. Number one, on the UN's currency operational chart, there has been a change in the Zimbabwe rate. it has gone from whatever it used to be to 3.0013. And what that means is between government and government, the Zimbabwe currency is now 3-to-1 to the US dollar. 3 Zimbabwe dollars equals 1 US note. Okay? Or 33 cents per dollar. Just so you know. So you're going to want to pay attention to that. The IMF is putting enormous pressure on the Republic of Iraq to post their new rate in the Gazette. And I mean enormous pressure. It's coming. You're going to want to watch out for that. As far as Brexit, I don't know what to tell you about that, other than the fact that I know that there are contingency plans that have already been put in place. Because, the battle, what we don't see being played out through the media is the real war that's going on between the cabal and the individual nations that have decided to change the paradigm to get rid of the cabal, to dissolve the cabal, to pound it into dust once and for all, and to bring the world into a whole new paradigm. We're not seeing any of that, but we'll get to that here in a minute. So this flip of the currencies is absolutely imminent. I can't say any more than that because I don't want to jinx it, but it's absolutely imminent. Every resource is being brought to bear to make this happen. Because when this flips and every nation has its own currency and the ability to write its own path, and there's no debt, there will be a new type of freedom that the world hasn't experienced in over 100 years. It also bankrupts the cabal. So there is a lot going on. There is so much going on, I can't even begin to tell you. Not only off-world, but also here on the surface. There's always been talk about the Earth being hollow. Well, I don't know if you caught this 3 weeks ago, that scientists have discovered huge underground caverns, hollow caverns with mountain ranges higher than Mount Everest inside the Earth. Did any of you catch that? Because I don't think the major mainstream media covered it, except maybe once for 20 seconds, and then they went right on to bashing America and the Trumps. We've talked about the hollow Earth before, and whether or not that's true. The amount of information that is coming out, it's not necessarily being talked about, but the information is coming out, and it's your alternative media that's really sharing the information, or trying to. It's just they're trying to break the monopoly of the mainstream media, of Google, of YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. These are all monopolies. And what's interesting is that they've been working against humanity virtually from the get-go. And it's only now that humanity's beginning to wake up to that and realize, oh shit, this isn't at all what I thought it was, or they say this, but they're actually doing that. So let's just get into what's going on there. You have to understand that the powers that be, the cabal, the deep state, the regressives, they want your attention. They want your focus. They want your energy, because your energy goes where you focus. And if you are focused on negativity, if you are focused on worry, stress, strife, a million other things that have nothing to do with joy, happiness, love, or calm, then we're all in the wrong state. Because as long as they have our attention in those lower bands of frequency, they're in control, because they know how to push all of our buttons. And now more than ever, they're doing an all-out push to get our attention, using the media as the tool to do this. You ask why. The governments of the world, the benevolence of our galaxy, and I include third, fourth, and fifth dimension in this benevolence of our galaxy. What's happening here is they are deconstructing the old matrix. They have begun the process of breaking it down and taking it apart. And as that begins to crumble, as it's being exposed, what this is, how do I put this? Well, the power structure that we've been living under, when it's exposed for what it really is, control, domination, and suppression, when that's exposed, the dark side, the regressives, they freak, because they've been hiding for thousands of years behind these power structures. And they've had their little minions on the earth, many of them royals, many of them banking consortiums, many of them military forces, running around doing all their dirty work for them. As that begins to crumble and everybody sees what it really is, they're being exposed. And as they become more and more exposed, they begin to freak, because they cannot operate out in the open. So what you're beginning to see, and we're at the beginning stages, but things are going to be moving very, very quickly. You see, in the very beginning, when you begin to change a structure, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a country, there's some planning that has to go involved. There are protocols that have to be instituted. There are procedures that may have to change on the fly as you begin to go in and change particular realities. So as you go in and you begin to decouple as you begin to decouple a power structure and break it down and expose it and move it out of the way, basically break it down, to remove it, tear it apart, there's always pushback. And that's what we've been seeing for the last 3 years. Very, very serious pushback. Well, specific procedures have now been implemented based on those first couple of years that they now know work. And what's going to happen is you're going to see relatively quickly that as America begins to free itself from the Federal Reserve, the British elite banking consortium. I don't know how else to say it, but that's what it is. And then you see Britain itself, the people of Britain, break away from the EU because they want their own independence. And then you see Italy, Poland, and other countries basically dissolve the EU, break it apart. You have to understand that all of that structure was put into place to control, to subjugate the people of Earth, especially the industrialized countries. The attack was not the intention was not only to enslave them with debt, which is what they did. Everybody's in debt. But then what they did was they began the migration of other cultures into these countries, knowing they would never assimilate. So now what you've done is you've attacked this structure in two specific ways. Debt, using fake money to enslave everybody to debt. And then you bring in another culture that has no intention of assimilating, and essentially it's an invasion. And so what you have is this was all happening in order to secure the elites, the globals, the cabals, the regressives' control. But that's not happening. Okay, it isn't going to work. And it really, the cultural thing is a second aspect to this. We have a huge problem here in the United States. Okay, the only reason this can occur, this migration, is because someone else is paying for it. When you stop the money to pay for all this, it stops. It will all stop. It will come to a screeching halt. This is the cabal. That's who's doing all this. Okay, so on the surface, it looks like absolute pandemonium and chaos. What you have to understand that this is a response to the deconstruction of their power hold and the elaborate power structure that they created to enslave all of humanity. Now, this goes all the way up to the top. Now, I'm going to introduce a piece of information here that I haven't introduced before. And I was asked not to do it many, many months ago, but I'm compelled to do it now. So what really triggered this entire movement of expelling the regressives and dismantling the cabal's management of the planet and of our races was our space fleet being pushed back to Earth. That was the domino effect. Now you have to understand that incredible wealth went into the creation of the space fleet. Incredible technological advances that will boggle everyone's mind, mostly everybody's mind, when they finally realize what's been going on and what it is that we're capable of doing. When all those resources went to these programs to leave Earth, trash the planet, and then leave, and then come back when everyone's dead, or almost everyone's dead, and then hail yourself the hero and introduce all this technology. Okay, and then you start the whole process all over again. Okay, but you're the hero because you have all this technology and all this knowledge, even though you're in fact the culprits that helped create this same scenario. When they were pushed back, the technology was then turned against them. You understand? So it began as above, so below. It began above the turn. Okay, this isn't right. We got to fix this. There is no future for humanity if we continue to go this route. So it's up to us. We have the ability to do it. So these starship captains and everyone else, they somehow got on the same page, and that's for other people to tell you about. When they got onto the same page, they decided to take the technology and turn it against these guys, the cabal, the regressives. Now, the regressives themselves have their own technology, and they basically gave us away their throwaway stuff. However, our space fleet had backup, very, very, very serious backup. They built relationships, and that backup is really what's instrumental in making sure that this whole thing moves forward. So I want you to understand that the media is so screwed up. The media is truly working against humanity. There may be a few programs out there that are genuine, that I listen to or I try to follow when I can. Sometimes it's Hannity. I like Tucker Carlson a lot. I try to find other programs on other cable channels that share real information that's not filtered or sent over by fax from the CIA using Operation Mockingbird, which is what most of MSNBC and CNN do. You can put them side by side and they're saying the exact same thing because they're reading from the same script. There is intervention occurring that is going to be moving this process along very, very quickly. If you remember a couple webinars back, I told you that as soon as the cabal knew that it was in trouble, that its power structure was being challenged, they unleashed everything. They just threw everything against the wall, such as 2020, Agenda 21, all the chemtrailing, the censoring of free speech, of the internet, the press, trying to destroy the United States Constitution, what's left of it, take down independent countries in Europe. Venezuela is certainly part of this scenario. You have to understand that this is all the same bunch. The paradigm that they use, the cabal, the deep state, is currency, debt, control, threats, control, assassination, humiliation. That's the paradigm. That's what they do. It's what they've always done. It's a wonder we're still here with that paradigm. That's changing. Okay, it's already begun. We're almost at a point where anything they try will not undo the changes that are coming. This is why I'm talking about the deconstruction. That's what's going on behind the scenes is that the levels of management that were controlling humanity, many levels, 3 or 4 levels, in fact, have already been removed. All that's left is the banking consortium, the regressive ETs, the few that are still here, and the media. And the media now is so wicked, so absolutely out of control, that everyone is beginning to see the contrast. I mean, how is it that they ignore the most basic problems humanity has to do nothing but attack one man around the world? Okay? It's insanity. And understand that when we talk about watch and observe, from the title of the webinar, you watch what's happening, you observe what you're being told, okay? And then you look to see if it pans out, if it's in fact real. Is that what you're actually seeing unfold in front of you? Because I promise you, whether you like Trump or not, whether you like America or not, whether you like Western civilization or not, that's not the issue, okay? Those are all scapegoats for the reality that the system that we've been living under is so broken, so decrepit, that it's being replaced by the very people who used it to try to leave the earth. Okay, now that they can't leave Earth, they have to fix this. And they're doing it. They have turned all their resources now against this bunch. And the destructuring of all of this is what you're not really seeing, because it's not being reported. And it won't be reported until at one point where the media just, well, I don't know how it may just become self-evident. I don't know that the media is ever going to be honest again, frankly. But nonetheless, that's occurring. There are more and more people on the planet beginning to have some form of contact, I'm told. At least that's what I'm getting from emails of people around the world. We know that the frequency, the harmonics are changing. Now, anytime you have a harmonic shift on a living organism, the living organism or organisms, they have to adapt to the changing frequency, to the new harmonics. If they can't adjust to the new harmonics, then they cross over. But nature is amazing. Nature abhors a vacuum. What she does then is she fills in those empty slots with other different types of life forms. This is not the first time anything like this has happened, which is why in our geological record, in our archaeological record, the species just appear out of nowhere. Now, some of them are seeded here from off-world. In fact, many of them are, but not 100% of them. Nature herself creates specific life forms to perform specific things in specific ecosystems that the planet has. Where there's a need, the earth creates the cure. You understand? This is what's beginning to happen now. As we deconstruct the old world, the old paradigm, and it has to go away, the surface, the governments, the enlightened governments on the surface, the space fleet, the benevolence, and nature herself will replace that with a system that is more balanced, more in harmony. And this is going to happen. This is in fact happening. Aside from the point that we have new planetary systems, we have an outside planetary system or solar system passing through ours, which they clearly don't want us to know about. I mean, that's extraordinary in itself. That creates a harmonic shift and a change in our solar system. Now, our ancient ancestors went through this, but we don't have enough records to know, enough history to know exactly how it changed humanity or nature. But it had an effect, a dramatic effect. Some ancient civilizations appear to be as advanced as we are now, and yet they went backwards. But what happened was, technologically they went backwards, but spiritually they evolved to a whole nother level. So nothing stays the same. There's always movement and forward progress. And right now, humanity needs a spiritual awakening. And I damn sure am not talking about religions. Sorry, I don't mean to offend you. But that isn't where you're going to get your answers. You're going to get your answers with a direct connection to the source, to God, him or herself, to the Great Spirit, to the isness, to the Almighty, whatever term, adverb, adjective you choose to use. That's where you're going to get your answers. Because every single one of us is on an individual life plan on this planet. Yes, we agree to share it with other people in our lives, to bear children along the way. But your specific evolution is your responsibility. It isn't your partner's. It's not your children. It's not your boss's. It isn't anybody else's. It's yours. And only you can own it. I was once told that when we all fell out of bliss, the isness, the timeless eternity, and we all decided, those of us who incarnate into physicality, when we decided to leave and fall into time and take on physical form, we only took two things with us: the mask and the mirror. Now, we all wear the mask because we have different lifetimes and different life forms with different faces, different families, different names. And that's the mask we wear, whether it's on Earth or anywhere else. And at some point, we reach a point where we are absolutely sick and tired of wearing the mask. Or we have done enough self-imposed loneliness, or we have suffered enough, experienced heartbreak enough, experienced enough contrast that we decide, that's it, I'm done. And we take off the mask. We put it down. Supposedly, that's when we pick up the mirror and we look into the mirror and we remember who we really are. And it's at that point that we go back to the source, because now we remember who we are. That's the purpose of the mirror, to remind you who you are. There's a lot of us there. There's a lot of us there. And this is a good thing. There are no accidents. None of this is an accident. Okay? This energetic movement is coming. It's here. The flow of it is really, really strong. It's just that we have to get quiet within each one of us, and we have to find that flow. We have to recognize that flow of energy, that flow of information, that flow of knowledge, that flow of self-love that's always been there, that we couldn't see because we were wearing this mask of physicality. When we drop the mask and we remember who we are, it's no work whatsoever to tap into that flow, to find it. Because after all, our DNA is in fact a tuning fork. That's what it does. It resonates to harmonics, to harmony, to frequency. That's how we know people when we meet them. That's how it is that we experience love. Our DNA resonates to love. And that's what we're looking for, that flow of energy, that flow of life is love. Because that's all any of this was meant to be. Okay? It is just a game, a proving grounds of sort for the soul, for each one of us to test our mettle, to garner the experience of physical form, of feeling alone, and then bringing ourselves back to source. Remember, all the broken pieces find their way home. Some of us aren't broken, we're just lost. Okay? Some are broken. It may take them longer. It's hard to say because each individual life is its own reality, even though it touches others. On another note, there is a online intelligence group that is made up of former military and civilian intelligence people, most retired. And I've spoken about them before in past webinars. The group is known by Able Danger. Their chief spokesman, Field McConnell, publicly stated, I think it was last week, that he had been told by one of his intelligence sources that the real Hillary Clinton had been executed. I do not know this for a fact myself, but the only reason I'm bringing it up is because of the group. Their information has been very, 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 very accurate in the past. And that's one of the key linchpins to the cabal, is the Clinton crime family. I'm probably going to get into a whole lot of trouble for having said that. But, ladies and gentlemen, I love us. I do. I mean, having spent time with the A's, it's almost as if they live in heaven compared to us. When you look at the contrast between the two. And They don't have to deal with any of the stuff we do. Not even close. And I really have an appreciation for us and everything that we go through. The wars, the pestilence, the starvation, the deceit, the lies, the treachery, the betrayal, the poisoning. We're scrappy. We really are. Earth, we're fighters. There is nothing pansy-mamby about us down here. There really isn't. And I could see where the regressive aliens are really, really pretty worried about us finding out what's really been going on. Because, we're all fighters. We don't give up easily. We have our extremes of emotions. And when it gets right down to it, we will defend our own no matter what. We will defend each other no matter what. We will assist each other no matter what. When it's down and dirty, when everything's on the line, we rally together. And we're scrappy. We really are. And I have such an appreciation for us. Of that part of us. I wish we didn't have to wait until everything was on the line. I think we're cutting it really close when we do that kind of stuff. But our paradigm is changing, and it has to change. Because the old way leads to tremendous pain. Tremendous pain. And ladies and gentlemen, humanity deserves joy. Humanity deserves the chance to stand on its own. Humanity deserves to know the truth about the history of our planet and who we are, and who we represent, and who our forefathers were. And we deserve to know so that we can mentor the future generations coming up, so that they are in a position to mentor in a very responsible and mature way the future generations behind them. Because we're worth it. We absolutely are worth it. With your permission, I wanted to read something. Oh, it's over here. And this falls in line. I think I read it a couple of years back, but this is a very different group of people. This was from Visayas, and it was Creating a New Reality. This is what he said about creating a domain of knowing. This will make sense when I get to the end of it. Create another domain of knowing, communicating and being. In other words, the domain of calling forth or generating your intent needs to be more distinct. Your physics, as you call it, is a good example of this calling forth. There have been men on your planet who have called for new domains of thinking that never existed. They invented it, and they didn't fantasize about it. They didn't pretend. They literally created a new context for what you now call physics. Your humanity is strong with these kinds of examples. No being, however the distinction, that is what they are. No being, however, makes the distinction that this is what they are. I would like to give you an example. your concept of human rights. It isn't so long ago there was no such concept on your planet. It didn't exist. You Terrans did not have any rights. Only their kings and priests had their rights. But most of you Terrans did not have any, not a single one. So you and other Terrans created human rights from nothing. You created the domain that created the human rights, and then you called it forth. You created language for it. You communicated it. And this communication that you gave it power because it was full of intent. It has the power not only to represent and to invoke, but also to literally bring it forth into being. This is what your races need to do in order to clearly know yourselves and transform the quality of your lives on Earth. This was in 1995. How do we want our lives to be? You know, what is it that we really want? If we were to have a conversation about who humanity is 25 years from now, and then 50 years from now, and then 100 years from now, what would that conversation look like? How would that conversation go? Who would we be talking about? What qualities and characteristics would we want to have? How much knowledge would we want to have of not only what is actually happening presently, factual information, but what also happened in the past, factual information? And how important are facts to us in creating this new domain of knowing? I realize that not a lot of conversation like this occurs on the forums, different forums. But this is where we're at. Things are changing. And as I've told you before, and I think others have said this as well, whatever mentoring we get is meant to empower us. It is not here to enslave, weaken, or to create a crutch in any way to disempower humanity. We have to rise to the occasion. All of these things are occurring as we speak, whether people are aware of them or not. This movement to break down and disintegrate the old world and replace it with something that's new, this is actually happening. There is no turning it back. So we have to participate in this. And as I've said before, clarification of the goal always belongs in the beginning, not at the end. Because if you wait till the end to do it, someone else has been in control of building your paradigm. We've already been through that. Okay, we've already been through that. That shit doesn't work for us. We should have enough of a knowledge base to truly know what works and what doesn't. And I'm talking on all levels: governmental, environmental, medical, physical, agriculture, natural resources, space, technology. We have a really good foundation of knowledge. There's definitely pieces we don't have. But some of that is very soon to be at our fingertips. Are we going to be ready to absorb that information when it's presented to us. I think we need to be. I think the sooner we get on our own and we stand on our own 2 feet, the better off we're going to be. Because, Abraham Lincoln once said something. He said, "A house divided cannot stand." And he was referring to the United States at the time, just before the Civil War, where the southern states, run by the Democratic Party, by the way, decided to break away and maintain slavery and to continue to spread slavery west. And then you had the northern states who had all but abolished all their slaves before the beginning of the Civil War. Okay? He was referring to that. But the analogy still applies to Earth. A race divided cannot stand. So, what's really dividing us? What really is it? When you break it down to its basic, simplest premise, what is it that is dividing humanity? Is it one thing? Is it several things? Can they be clearly stated? Can they be addressed? Instead of everybody yelling at each other, lobbing bombs at each other, blowing each other up, and no one listening, we're never going to get to those answers, are we? We're never going to have that real conversation. Is it religion? Is it our spiritual belief in what God is and God isn't? Is it that? Is it really the color of our skins? Is it just a philosophical difference? Is it really any of that? Or has all of this been learned behavior? We have to somehow get to those places, get to those answers. Because our window of opportunity is coming. It's right there in front of us. At some point, the heavens are going to part. We're going to know we're not alone. We're going to know the truth about our space fleet. We're going to know the truth about our history, human history on the planet, about our brothers and sisters and other star nations in our solar system and in our galaxy. Are we ready to take the reins of our own lives, of our own planet, of our own civilization? Are we ready to take the reins to do it? And do we want to? We need to have that conversation. We can't keep doing this. There's just no way we can keep doing this. Whether they're time travelers or not, many of them have their own lives. I'm referring to the benevolence. Many of them have their own families. They're not going to want to sit here and babysit us. I mean, is that really what we want? And I think we can all agree, those of us who are aware of the other problems, like the regressives and the control and manipulation, the banking cabal, shame on us, I can't remember how that goes. But that didn't work because it's too self-serving. Okay, the needs of the many aren't even a consideration. That doesn't work. We know that. There is never, ever nothing going on. Okay? That's just simply not the case. There is never nothing going on. Some of you who think that there isn't anything going on, cherish this time. Okay? Cherish this time. Because when the windows open and all of the reality of what is going on comes down from the sky and it's right there in front of you, many of you are going to be completely overwhelmed and completely unprepared for what reality really is and what's really been going on. And we're going to have empathy for you. We're going to pick you up after you've come to, after you've passed out and you've come to. We're going to help you back to your feet, but we're going to expect you to carry your own weight. We're going to expect you to walk hand in hand as brothers and sisters and march into a new future together as one race, regardless of your color, regardless of your creed, regardless of any other bullshit that you can come up with as an excuse. We're all in this together. We all share this space together. We all are responsible together. So we've got to figure this out. And those conversations need to start. We're way behind anyway, actually. Those conversations probably should have started 25 years ago. But everybody was all caught up in the metal of the ships, you know. You've seen one, you've seen them all. Some are bigger than others, some are smaller. Some are absolutely stunning, some are pieces of shit, but they still fly. They still fly. Okay, what matters is what is the intention of the pilot and the crew. That's really the question. What are their intentions? Okay, right back at you. What is your intention? Okay, what is your intention? If you were to get into Starship and go out, what would be your intention? If you were on board, a future self of you is on board coming back here, what would be your intention? Okay. JP, I'm open for some questions.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the mountains of Canada, this is from Jason Penner. In the mountains of Canada, the last stronghold of the Siakar and the Draconians, are those caves flushed out, cleaned up of those malevolent beings?
I do not know. I have not had an update from Mornay in 5 months. So I don't know.
So that's not even a weekend.
I would say, if I had to guess, I would say that more than likely it's either done or they're just mopping up. But I don't have any hard knowledge of the results of that just yet.
Mark G is asking, will taxation change?
That's a good question. What do we want? You got to remember, at least here in the United States, we're not a democracy. If we were going to be a democracy, the founding fathers would never have created the Electoral College. You know, and it's a shame they don't teach this stuff in school anymore. The reason they created the Electoral College is because if we were a democracy, the 50 and 1/2% would be able to tell the 49.5% what to do. Okay, which means that if you have 4 or 5 states that are the most populated, they would decide every other presidential election. Every presidential election. Okay, which means the other 45 states would have no say whatsoever. But with the Electoral College, it levels the playing field so that every state and every citizen, in fact, has a say in the running of our country. That's why we are a constitutional republic. The Democrats want to get rid of that because they're all about socialism. They don't even give a shit about democracy. They really don't. What they want is socialism, knowing what happens when it fails. It falls into totalitarian. It becomes a totalitarian rule. And then they have power forever until they're completely overthrown. That's how this works. That's what history shows us. Okay, what do we want? And you ask about taxation. If we're a constitutional republic, the people would have been able to tell the country what happened. In 1871, the Congress of the United States gave Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, a different form of government, a corporate government. Okay? In 1913, they added the Federal Reserve. They took the power to coin money and gave it to a private banking consortium. In 1933, right after the crash in 1929, the Constitutional United States of America declared bankruptcy, and it was replaced by the United States of America, Inc. Read it. It's a fact. It's all there. And that's what we've been living under all this time. So when you see Trump talking at these rallies and he says, we're going to restore the republic, when the Q group says, we're going to restore the public, that's what they're talking about. Okay? That's what they're talking about. You see, most people don't have a base of knowledge to understand how to decode all this stuff because governmental schools just stopped teaching independence to everybody because they had no intention of allowing you to be free anymore. That's just a fact. And that's just in this country. You know, I'm sure it's this bad or maybe even worse in other countries. But I didn't grow up in other countries, so I don't know for a fact. But in this country, that's what happened. So, will there be taxation? God, I hope not. Personally, I think if we're going to allow our government to take care of business, we institute a national sales tax. That's it. That's what they get. That's what they have to live with. Okay? And we decide if they get to raise it by a national, during a national campaign or voting section, there's elections every 2 years, presidential election every 4 years. We would then vote if we wanted the sales tax raised. I mean, to me, that's a very simple solution. It comes right up off the top. You don't need the IRS because the state governments already collect sales tax. You let them collect it for the Fed, they send it to the Treasury, government stays small. Just an idea. There's a lot of ways to do this and make it work. Okay? The government was never meant to become more important than its citizens. Ever. That is never what it was meant to be. Okay, next question, JP.
Okay. You may have answered this question before from Cygnus32, but I don't recall it. Have you ever been in such direct contact with any of your other future selves? Thanks for all you do.
I think so. I really think so. There was a time, there was a day, I think it was a day, where I was on the ship, and I was walking through the park where the children were being taught. And off in the distance, there was a man who absolutely garnered my attention. And he was walking this way. He was coming out of what appeared to be like a housing area, and he was walking towards the entrance to a cargo hangar. Now, the way the living quarters, the different living quarters, at least in the area, the A ship that I was on, the mothership, they're circles. And in the middle are these incredible parks. And all the housing and structures go up around it. And then you have the ceiling where it's holograph, day and night. It lightly sprinkles, almost like a misty rain. And if you didn't know, you would think you were outdoors somewhere. And I saw this man walking, and he looked right at me, and I looked at him, and I'm like, I know him. I know him. And I remember saying that to myself immediately. I know him. And I began to think, is he a crew member? Is he one of M's crew members? And just as I'm at that place, Morane comes up from beside me. He touches my shoulder here, because I'm looking at the guy this way, and he draws my attention. He goes, come walk with me this way. And I said, I want to talk. He goes, wait a minute, I want to know. And he goes, and he purposely totally distracted me into something else. And I knew it at the time. And a little bit later, I said, did I know that person? He goes, not yet. He goes, not yet. And that's it. That's all he would say. But it's been years now, and I've been sitting with this one. That's such a great question. I've been sitting with this one, and I'm having exactly that thought. Was that me? Was that me there with them? And I don't know. I still don't know. All these years, that's the first time anyone's asked me that question. Okay. That was great. Thanks, JP.
Okay, so this is a very, I think this is a very pertinent thing. Should we try to help others wake up, or is time better spent on focusing on our own personal growth? What will better help the planetary and humanity ascend? I wonder why I will leave family and friends behind and feel responsible to wake others, but it doesn't seem like it's doing any good.
Man,
what does it do?
I've wrestled with that. I've wrestled with that question from the very beginning, frankly. Ever since I was dumb enough to speak out. I don't know that it's helped. I do not know the impact that I've had, if it would have been any different if I hadn't have spoken out. I honestly don't know that. But what I do know is that when I'm right, spiritually, when I'm aligned, I'm rarely right, I'm kidding. When I'm spiritually aligned and I'm in a really good centered space, and I am operating from a higher consciousness level, I affect everybody around me, even if I don't talk to them. Just by walking in a room, walking into a grocery store, you can feel, and you walk up and down the aisles, and you just acknowledge people. You can see an energy shift with them. Now, I can't take all the credit, and I'm not trying to, but I notice that in those particular types of scenarios, everything goes very smoothly. I get all the items that I want. It's almost as if I'm sleepwalking through the whole thing. It goes so easy. And when I leave, my groceries are cheaper than what I would have probably spent before. So what I'm saying is, it's like that's the flow. It's being in the flow, where everything just goes real smooth, real easy. It's like it's not work at all. It's joy. It's and that energy you spread to other people just by hello, excuse me, acknowledging their presence, nodding as they walk by. You can see them change. You can see their facial expression. Many people will stand up taller and straighter. I mean, I notice these things. So I am of the opinion today that by me working on myself and being totally cognizant of the space that I hold all the time, consciously aware of the space that I hold, that is right now more important than trying to beat down the doors of denial or disbelief. That's kind of where I'm at, and that's why I'm, and we're considering, at some point here in the very near future, ending the webinars. So we'll see. There's a lot of things I'm still trying to figure out. It's what it is, that's just what it is. I'm ready for another question.
From Björn. We've earlier talked about that if entities of higher dimensions are to proceed to the next dimension, those of the lower dimensions will have to graduate first. How does this unfold if the draconians of the lower fourth density are not able to climb up? Are they returned to source?
I don't have that answer, Bjorn. I don't know. But I just don't have that answer. I don't know how that's going to play out. Right now, my focus is on I'm trying to get to fourth. I mean, I can't imagine that we graduate out of third into fourth only to deal with the same assholes we left behind in third. I can't imagine they're going to stick us with that. I really don't. It may be that their vibration is so low in fourth that we just hop skip over them and don't have to deal with it. That would really work for me. But I can't imagine that, we graduate from third and then we have to meet these idiots again in fourth and deal with it all over again. I just don't see that. That would be a really, really bad joke. I don't see that happening. So, but I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't worry about the salvation of the draconians or the CCAR. I don't. I worry about us. That's really where my focus is and my attention, because there's a lot of work to do there. But it's a good question. I have like 30 pages of questions for Mornay when I see him. Okay.
From Elizabeth. Aloha from Kauai. What about Aeon at Andromeda Galaxy? Sounds like a web address. Aeon? A-E-O-N?
A-E-O-N? I don't know what that is. My guys are not from the Andromedan Galaxy. They're from the constellation of Andromeda in fifth density. So many people have made this mistake over the years, and I keep having to correcting it. I don't know who Aeon is in the Andromedan galaxy. I have no idea. Sorry. Guys, I don't know everything. Obviously, I just don't know everything, you know?
Okay, so this might be a bit, this is about dimensionality. And this is from beyond, are the Andromedans in fifth density in a completely different space, or could we actually see and feel them here currently on Earth? How are we, quote, separated, unquote? You want to talk about that a little bit?
No, they're not in fifth density on Earth. They're not at all. There is a small contingency of fifth density beings that exist on Earth that have been here for many, many, many millions of years. I understand that I don't know where they've come from, but they interact with upper fourth density beings on our planet, and there are civilizations that we would consider human that exist in fourth density on Earth. This is why sometimes when windows open, people see a different reality. This is why sometimes people see cities in the sky, because the veil opens and they can see these cities in the sky, or these cities in the desert. You know, science likes to call them mirages. A lot of times there's a lot more to it than that, and that's the dimensional veil. As the veil gets smaller and smaller, we will be walking into those realities. It's almost like a switch. And I did this, I think the last webinar or the one before. They all kind of meld together now. As our consciousness rises and our DNA continues to vibrate and hold the higher frequencies, what happens is we just flip. And we're there. We're in fourth. But there will be a thinning of the veil, so this doesn't happen cold to anybody. As the veil opens, we will begin to see it. There'll be conversations, there'll be discussions, there will be knowledge shared about the merging of the frequencies. Now, this is going to come from the people in those dimensions and people here, mostly the kids at first, that hop back and forth. All right? They will go hop, then they'll come back and they'll tell us what they saw, what they know, what they've learned. Okay? And then they'll hop back and then they'll come back and continue to educate us until we start to move forward. It may start with a small group, then a larger group, and then at some point, most of the population. Those that cannot handle the frequency or simply refuse to open their consciousness. And what I mean by that is let go of their fear. If they refuse to let go of their fear, they will probably cross out of here in physicality. I do not know or think that they will continue their journey here on Earth because the frequency is changing. The goal here is for the frequency of the planet to change permanently. And at some point, it will shed its third dimensional physicality. And it will be fourth and then fifth. That's how it's been explained to me. And they couldn't give me years because this isn't about years. Okay? Everybody measures time differently. So this is about us doing the work. That's what it's about. I have time for one more question, I think.
Okay, let's have a look here. Mark, it says the West Coast earthquake didn't happen yet. Is it still
Yes, I
widespread?
know. I know. I'm thrilled. I don't want it to happen. Okay? That's why I told you I was uncomfortable talking about it. You know, I don't want it to happen. I love the Pacific Northwest. I have people I care about up there. Some of my fondest memories are on Orcas Island. I can't wait to go back one day. I don't want that underwater. But, you know, change is occurring everywhere. And, you know, if you know, do you say it or do you not say it? You know, that's the dilemma of being a messenger. You just don't know. You know, you just don't know. So I would rather err on the side of caution, which I've done a lot of in the past. I would rather err on the side of caution and share things, probabilities or possibilities with people. You know, because bottom line is I'm trying to watch out for everybody's back. That's what it's always been. I'm the oldest of 11. You know, you're always trying to watch each other's back. And I feel the same way about you guys. You know, I can't wait to hit the lottery. I just can't wait. But I have to until I do. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm so deeply honored. I hope this was of value. And I want to thank you for your time and your energy and your focus and your intentions. And I love all of you. I have the deepest respect for all of you, even though we've never met. I feel like on some level we have, or we've worked with each other before. It's a privilege to be on point for you up to this point. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.